Hello, we're going to have a solo chat today. I thought I'd talk more about me finding my own voice because it's something that I think a lot of us struggle with and something that's been quite big in my journey, actually. So, years and years ago, like when I was a child and early teens, I was so quiet. Like people would often say how quiet I was. Like I was always polite. I think I'd learned to be quite palatable and usually just spoke up if I was like agreeing with someone. I would often say things that I knew other people wanted to hear. I was very sweet. I had good manners. Like friends' parents would always say, oh, Jimmy can come often. She's so well behaved. Like I was so quiet, right? And she's always got such good manners. And while all of these things are so positive, what was interesting is a lot of the girls that I went to school with, or some of the girls that I went to school with, they were more opinionated. They were slightly noisier. They knew what they wanted, knew what they believed in, and they were often spoke about in a way like they were bossy, or perhaps they were too noisy or too bossy or too opinionated, or like they would interrupt and I could tell people didn't like them interrupting. And so I very quickly learned, as we do as children, what is right and wrong, or what behavior people liked and what they didn't, what was acceptable and what wasn't. You just learn. We all learn as children to kind of mold ourselves into the type of human that is going to make the most people. Kids really like to please the adults in their life, to make them happy. They like to be praised, all of the things. And for me, that just happened to be that when I was polite and when I was sweet and when I was agreeable and when I didn't try and have differing beliefs or opinions or big, crazy ideas, that's when people were happiest with me. So it was probably when I was like mid-teenage years that I started to kind of push the boundaries a little bit. And it was around that time that I actually met my now husband, Andrew. And I think that I just had this newfound confidence, as you do when you're a teenager as well, newfound confidence to be whoever the heck I wanted to be, to have my opinions, to be a bit more outspoken, to be bold, to be a bit noisier. I still didn't do it around people that I wasn't confident doing that around. However, I know that I started to talk a lot more, started to use my voice a lot more. And then I would say in my early to mid 20s, I started to feel more self-conscious about my voice again. There was definitely times that I remember, key times that I had opinions or would say things and they weren't received so well. Or people thought I was a bit silly or a bit weird or a bit out of line, or that I wasn't being as polite or palatable that they wanted me to be. So I've written down a couple of notes of times that I can remember. So there was times that I remember growing up that I would speak up in class. So I'd put my hand up in class and whatever answer I said, people would find it funny, right? They would laugh at me or say that I was silly. Or if I had a question to ask, they would think my question was silly, right? And I remember it took me quite a bit. I was often in a bit of a daydream or a bit of a zone in the classroom that I'd be like really focused. So sometimes when I would ask my question, someone else would have already asked it, or sometimes I didn't fully understand what the teacher was saying. And so I would ask a question and people would sort of laugh because the teacher had already covered it. And I remember that happened a few times growing up and it really silenced me. That was my worst nightmare, was everyone laughing at me. And so I just really learned that I was like, no way am I putting my hand up. I'm likely to say something silly. I'm likely to say the wrong thing. And I'm likely to have not been paid attention, basically, is kind of the conclusion that I came to. And so this propped up again in my 20s in terms of me having my opinions and having like my different beliefs or things that I had learned and people not really like believing me, or people having a different opinion or not liking that I had a different opinion would throw me off course. And so there was one time I remember a group of my husband's friends came around to our house and one of them said something and I said a differing opinion. And that friend turned to my husband and said, oh, I'm sorry, bro. I just can't. Like, this is not. And I was like mortified because I was like, what? Like, uh, am I not allowed another opinion? I remember just wanting to dig myself the biggest hole ever. And I think I probably felt more comfortable than what I actually was and more confident than what I was. And so that pushed me off my perch quite quickly, you know, and I was just like, oh, absolutely not going to say anything about that topic ever again. Because clearly I know nothing about it or my opinion is embarrassing. Yeah. And so I got to this point where I was like, no way am I going to speak up in social situations. Like, there's just no way. I guess you could say late 20s, heading into my 30s, I was pretty sociable around my friends, like my good friends and my family, but I was also very much moved into a space of like masking and performing and deciding very intentionally what I chose to say and discuss with people, because I felt like there were certain things that were topics that I wasn't ready to kind of get into conflict with, that I knew I might have had a differing opinion with, and I just didn't trust myself. I really didn't trust myself anymore. I was like, no way. Like, it made me feel like my skin was going to crawl coming up to any kind of social situation. So moving through my 30s, probably coming into like my mid 30s and definitely right through, I'm like, in a few months I turned 42. So the last kind of like 8 years, I've been a lot better about moving into a space of trusting myself again, trusting my voice. And it has been a lot of work. Like, it has really taken intentional work to get to where I am today, to like building a YouTube channel, speaking on video and putting it out for the world to see. It has been a major journey. There has been times that I have really restricted what I've allowed myself to share. And there's been times where I've really grown in the amount of trust that I have for myself in my own voice. So a lot of it came from just practicing, like, and that sounds really, really strange. Like, how do you like practice using your voice, right? And it really started with myself. Like, I started to do a few things. I've got a list of things that I have done to increase my trust and to use my voice more over the years and become more confident in using my voice. Another couple of areas that I lost my confidence with my voice was within my business. And over the years, I've acquired quite a lot of knowledge in different areas, but there were certain areas that I had a lot of knowledge in and a lot of experience in, such as social media or maybe like some marketing or some creative business work, but I didn't necessarily have the specific qualifications that some people might have. Like, I studied fashion design, but then I've gone on to do lots of personal growth work, and then I studied life coaching, but I've also do lots of like creative support work with like podcasts and video editing, and I do email platforms, and like I've built a few websites and stuff. But I don't necessarily have those set qualifications. And so what I've found with those sorts of areas is that I really lost confidence for a while there in terms of my voice, because I felt like I wasn't qualified enough. And I think that's like, there's quite a few beliefs that start to build up, that I don't know enough, that my opinion is stupid, that my beliefs don't make any sense, that what I'm saying doesn't make any sense, that I don't know anything. And you start to be really afraid that people are going to think that you're some kind of fraud or that you just don't know what you're talking about and that you're just a silly human. And so I started just not wanting to share about all these incredible things that I'd learned and that I knew about and that I was passionate about. And it blows my mind how many of us must do this and how much value the world is missing out on soaking up and growing because of this. The fact that I was unwilling to share my voice had such an impact on my business over the years, in the way that I would show up with social media and the way that I would talk about it. I used to just not talk about my fashion business. I wouldn't talk about I had a business with my life coaching and my Reiki business. I just wouldn't talk about it. I was worried about being misunderstood, worried that people would think I was silly, worried that people wouldn't care or that they're going to roll their eyes or tell me that I wasn't qualified or how dare I do that or how would I know about that, blah, 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 blah. it was just like too much, right? It really stopped me from moving forward. And so there's a whole lot of things that have happened in the last, I would say 4 to 5 years, that have really helped me come out of my shell and become more confident with my voice and really have that inner trust. Trusting myself with my voice has been the biggest thing ever. And it's really taken intentional work. So here's the thing. When we have something we're passionate about, something that we've learned about, something we're excited about, something that we know about, our opinion, whatever, music that we love, anything, and we continually get silence, we lose that trust within ourselves to use our voice and to express ourselves into the world. And that just means the world is missing out on so much of us. Here's the thing. After so many years of feeling like I was being silenced or made to feel silly when I would speak up, when I would say my opinions, when I would share my passions or any of that kind of thing, and people made me feel silly for it, as I stopped using my voice. I started only using my voice when it was saying what everyone wanted to hear, when it was presenting myself in a way that I knew was going to be received well. I made myself palatable. I made myself be polite always, agreeable always, all of those. Perhaps you can relate to this because, oh my God, because it's exhausting, and like soul destroying. I knew something needed to change. Like I just knew it. There was so many things that were bottled up inside me that I wanted to share. And there's been like the last 10 years where I have been like doing a lot of personal growth, and I really wanted to help other people through their personal growth. And there were several times where I was really passionate and excited about doing so. And again, I would get silenced. And something that's changed in me now is I'm no longer willing to be silenced. So I'm going to go over a few of the things. Something else that happened around 7 years ago, I decided that I would start a business in network marketing. And it was so interesting to find people not wanting to receive my words, my expression, my excitement, my passion, my ideas. And so once again, I found people wanting to silence me. I found people wanting to say, no, we're not comfortable with that. Zip, zip. No. And it was wild. And it was through that experience that I started making connections with women that were really confident with sharing their voice, with sharing their beliefs, with sharing their passions, with just sharing their everyday. And it didn't matter if their beliefs were the same as mine. It didn't matter if they were passionate about the same thing as me. I just remember thinking, like, how wild that they just feel so confident to share and to speak up and to boldly just be themselves. And that's when I thought to myself, that's what I want to be like. Not like them, but I want to be that confident in sharing my voice, because I knew that I had so much inside me that I wanted to share with the world. I decided to write down a list of all the ways that I have learned to use my voice more and really gained back that self-trust when it came to using my voice, and really how I've practiced using my voice over the last 8 years, I want to say, but probably mostly the last 4 years, where I've really started to trust myself to express myself using my voice. So it's been quite the journey. I'm going to skip back to when I was a child and my 2 older sisters had left home. So it was just me and my parents. And I remember this is during the time that I was quiet and polite and palatable and agreeable and sweet and all the things. And I used to line up my teddy bears in my room and I used to teach them. I used to give them a motivational talk and I loved it. It was almost like I was giving myself a pep talk. I remember I'd start off and I'd say something and then I would just keep talking. And I remember having this feeling of, I don't even know where this is coming from. This is just coming through me at this point. And I had this moment in my bedroom that I'll never forget. It was me feeling like, right. I do have something inside me. I do have so much value inside me that I want to share. And even if I feel like I can't share it right now, I know it's in there. So fast forward all these years later, and I was doing some journaling, and that memory came back to me, and that very moment came back to me of, you have value inside yourself and it needs to be shared with the world. You need to figure out a way of gaining trust back, of trusting yourself again, trusting your voice, and figuring out a way that you can use your voice again, that you feel confident to do so. So I started doing all the things, and I brain dumped all these things that I have done to help to grow trust and to like be able to practice using my voice. So I really hope these are helpful to you. They've made such a huge difference in my life, especially in the last like 5 years. And so I'm going to start going through them. So one of the things that I actually did was start to send myself voice messages. And at first I was like, this is like really, really weird. Like, what do I even say to myself? This is awkward. But I literally just started to voice message myself and just be like, hey, this is really bloody embarrassing, isn't it? Like, this feels really awkward. And I remember it was even weird, like, it didn't even feel fluid coming out of my mouth. I was like stumbling on the words, speaking to myself. I didn't know what to say, I didn't know how to say it. And I was like, ugh. And so I just started doing it regularly. And what was really interesting is after a while, I'd still have a little bit of a laugh at myself, but I started to just be like, oh my gosh, Luca did this really cute thing. Or, it might be anything like, oh, I really want to bake muffins after school today. This is my favorite flavor. Like, literally, I just started voice messaging myself, just yapping away, And after a while, I'd pop them on to listen to and just listen to myself and just be like, cool. Like, I started to realize that I was just a human. Go figure. And another thing that I did was I started to talk to myself in the mirror and just talk away to myself as I did things. And look, I've probably always talked to myself a little bit as I've done things. I think most of us do. However, started intentionally having conversations by like thinking, oh, what should I cook for dinner tonight? Oh, that sounds really yum. Oh, you're quite good at cooking this. Like, oh, that would be really fun. What would I really like to do with my friends? I wonder if I should organize this. We could do a play date. That friend's so kind. Blah, 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 blah. Like, I started to talk more and more like I was speaking to a friend. And what this did is it really opened me up to feeling a deeper connection with myself. So I started being able to share my ideas and express my own ideas and my own dreams and my own beliefs to myself. And I think that that's a huge part of seeing and hearing yourself, is giving yourself the opportunity to experience your own ideas, to actually hear and listen to your own ideas and your own beliefs and your own thoughts and become really grounded in them. The other thing I started to do was just to chat with strangers more. You might go into the dairy, buy like an ice cream or some milk or whatever, and you might just be like, hey, how's your day going? Yeah, cool, great. Thank you. Oh, it's a sunny day out, isn't it? Okay, great. If you don't have those short conversations with people, start there. I'm generally a chatty person with store people and that kind of thing. But what I started to do is take it to the next level and just found ways of making more conversation with people. And what that did is actually start to build on my confidence using conversation. So it could have been anything from discussing the weather to discussing what they were going to have for dinner that night or what they were doing that weekend. But it also opened me up to have more conversations with people that I wouldn't usually. So for instance, if you are at the park with your kids and there's a mum next to you also pushing her kid on the swing, or perhaps you're waiting in a long line at some food place. So I started to put myself out of my comfort zone a little bit and just make that extra little bit of conversation. And what was really cool is, like, complete strangers, you could kind of share your opinion more sometimes with them than you could yourself. So there's one example that sticks out to me. I was waiting in a long line and I got chatting to this man next to me because we were talking about the weather and it was really cold that day. And I remember saying to him, actually, I'm really looking forward to the cozy days by the fire. And he goes, what? And he sort of was laughing and saying, don't say that. Like, we want the sun to come back. And I was like, no, seriously. I was like, I love a good sunny day, but I'm a busy mom. I'm tired. I feel like I actually want some cozy days, like slowing down. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. And that sounds really small, right? But for me, that was huge that I was like, I guess, speaking out loud, voicing an unpopular opinion, right? So what I found from this experience about like having conversations that didn't need to happen, like they weren't 100% necessary, was that I started to be able to voice my opinions more with these strangers. And again, that built trust in myself to be able to use my voice and to be able to also have those opinions and state them. Yeah, it was really fun. So if that is something that you don't do very often and you're a little bit nervous about saying your opinions or speaking when it's not 100% necessary to do so, try that. Another thing I started to do is I started to send voice messages to friends, and quite nice just to pop them a little voice message and be like, I really want to see you. Let's catch up. Or, oh my gosh, this is happening my day. Like, I'm feeling really like this. Have you ever felt like this too? And it became a really nice way of me being able to express and connect with them throughout our days in the little real moments. When you're sending messages to your friends, you're not trying to articulate yourself perfectly. You're just expressing yourself, right? You're laughing. You're talking about things that you're excited about. You're talking about things that are challenging you, your thoughts, your opinions, all the things, and you just get to voice message them. So I really enjoy that. If you don't already send voice messages to your friend, absolutely try it. It's one of my favorite ways to be able to communicate and keep in contact with my friends on a regular basis. Another thing that I did was be really intentional about telling my husband stories. And I mean, my husband and I are best friends. We've been together for years and years and years. We were 16 and 15 when we got together. And now we're like 40 and 41. So we do talk about like anything, right? However, when I had a hit to my confidence and really didn't trust my own voice so much, I know that I stopped sharing my ideas and dreams, stopped even listening to my own ideas and dreams and beliefs. So definitely stop sharing them with everyone. So I started to be really intentional about sharing stuff with him. And this could be anything from just practicing, like sharing something funny that happened that day, sharing like a crazy idea that I had or something that would be really cool, or a crazy business idea that I had, or a cool vision that I had for our future, or even if we were like watching something on TV or watching the news, I'd say, oh, I'm not sure if I agree with that. And I'd just start to express things like that. And that might be really big for you and that might be really little for you. You might think that's really, really easy. But for me, I found it really empowering and I found it a really easy process because, as I say, we are really good friends. So he was really receptive, like he didn't think anything of it. But for me personally, it was huge because it was literally me just training myself to more naturally voice my opinion and to more naturally voice that actually, I'm not sure if I agree with that. Like, I know this idea is crazy because I've literally been like silencing and just shutting those ideas down for years. So bless him, he's probably like, stop sharing so much with me because now I share like all the stories and the ideas and the dreams and opinions, and we literally chat about everything, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Around about 7 years ago, I started an Instagram page that wasn't a personal one. It was around my life coaching. I really wanted to inspire other people, women in particular, to delve into personal growth, to really understand that they get to focus on possibilities instead of problems, that they get to reframe negative mindsets, and that they get to really like choose what they want to create in their own lives. So I started this Instagram page and started to become more and more confident at sharing what I believed in and what I was passionate about. And that was so good for me. I got so much encouragement. I built a beautiful community online, and I started to get more and more confident at sharing things that weren't necessarily the most popular opinion. About 5 years ago, I started to listen to more podcasts, and I used to listen to like motivational podcasts, funny podcasts, podcasts that would teach me things, and I just loved them. Like I'd have them in my ears when I went for a walk, when I was cooking, all the things, right? So I started to get this idea that wouldn't it be cool one day if I started a podcast, having it like way off in my future, like so far in my future that I couldn't really even get a clear grasp on how this would like come to life. I had no idea about how to create a podcast, didn't allow myself to look into how to create one. It was just like, oh, that'd be really cool to do one time. And I think I even recorded a few voice messages. Anyway, fast forward to like about 3 years ago, and I was in a small coaching group, and I made the mistake of mentioning to the coach, Katie, that I had wanted to start a podcast and that I really wanted to get more confident at using my voice, especially when it came to speaking about things I was passionate about, things that I was learning about, things that I wanted to teach and help people with, and that I just didn't feel confident in using my words and how I was articulating myself. I would get really nervous that I wasn't going to speak clearly, that people weren't going to understand, and that I wouldn't make sense. And I mentioned this to her, and she said to me, "When are you starting your podcast, and when is the first episode going live?" And I remember just thinking, what have I done? So I think it was like within 3 weeks, I had a podcast live. I called my very first podcast Good to Great, and I just started speaking, obviously. And I just started speaking my mind, started expressing myself. At the start, I did feel like I was performing a bit, like I was almost presenting something. And so I really worked on trying to be more relaxed about the way I was speaking. I started to try not to be perfect about things and try not to have set notes, because I used to write like full scripts. And so I stopped doing full scripts. I started to try and be more relaxed in how I spoke when I was on the podcast. It just tried to allow me to just speak and just be. I really gained so much self-trust by doing this first podcast, an incredible way of me being able to express myself by using my voice and speak about my passions, speak about my opinions, speak about things I was learning about or that I had learned about, that I wanted to help other people with, just give them tips, give them hints, all of the things. And I spoke to guests as well and interviewed them about particular topics. And like it really took me back to being that little girl in my bedroom with her teddies lined up and speaking to them, just giving them some good old motivation, good old pep talk, telling them about things. And yeah, it just gave me all the feels. And I think just nurturing that little girl inside me that was standing in her room talking to her teddies, it really was a great reminder for me of that feeling of having value inside yourself that you wanted to share with the world, that you knew other people were going to benefit from, and that you wanted to express. And so that was really, really powerful. So it's been a long road to me starting this YouTube channel properly. And it's a whole other kettle of fish filming yourself and allowing yourself to be really natural on film. Last year was a real year of fully hear myself, fully listen to myself, and fully see myself. And so end of last year, I was really questioning like how I wanted to do business this year, how I wanted to provide value, how I wanted to help people, how I wanted it to look, feel, all the things. At the end of last year, when I was seriously thinking about how I wanted my business to look and feel this year and how I wanted to create within my business, I started to think about the main thing that I want people to feel empowered about and inspired by, and it's just being as them as they can be. And so it became very clear that it was literally going to be me showing up as me as can be. And I think it was really important for me to do this on videos so that I am literally as me as can be, not hiding any of my not hiding any of my quirks, my silliness, I know that I've got like wee physical like fidgets, I've got 10,000 expressions, I have different energies, like sometimes I'm real bubbly and like high in energy, and sometimes I'm really chill and quite emotional, and I want to show all of that. And So, end of last year, telling myself, right, next year, 2026, we're going video. We're going to be doing a lot of recording on video. And I just remember sitting in there and thinking, really? Can we do this? Am I ready for it? Am I ready to be fully seen? And it really was a question that came down to, do you fully see yourself? Are you fully accepting and happy and grounded in who you are, how you are, your talents, your quirks, your uniqueness, your funniness, how you look, how you present yourself, all of your facials, your voice, like the way that you speak? Are you okay with the fact you're not always perfectly articulated? And are you okay with the fact that you go off on tangents, you go down rabbit holes? And I had to sit in it for a bit. I was like, oh, am I ready? And I won't lie, I sat there and thought, can I actually do it? Like, actually, can I do it? And when I came down to it, I was like, I actually need to. Like, I really, really want to. And I feel like the world needs it. It needs more people to be showing up as real as possible with real chats and real experiences and not articulating themselves perfectly. So I was like, what will this look like? It's not going to be me sitting at a desk. I love my office, but I don't sit at a desk to chat away to people. I sit on the couch and I have my animals next to me, and like I have things next to me. Like I've got a Sudoku next to me, a book next to me, like a notepad next to me, a drink. I've got all my things. Like this is how I sit and I speak to my friends. And so this is how I wanted to speak with you. And so this is how I wanted to show up and speak on my YouTube channel, is very much using my real voice to share my real stories, my real lessons, my real experiences, and getting to chat to guests or people having real experiences, and not try and hide all our silliness and uniqueness and craziness and utter chaos that life is. So it's been a long road. It's been a long road from that little girl who was shy and polite and was frankly nervous to have her own opinions because she felt like they were silly or wrong, too wild. And this time, I think it's my 40s. I think moving into my 40s has brought a whole new level of unwilling to be silenced, unwilling to be anything but as me as can be, unwilling to not share what I'm passionate about, unwilling to just hide parts of myself and what I want to say from the world just because I am scared and worried about what people might respond. So I hope speaking about my journey with finding my voice and sharing my voice inspires you to share yours more too, because we need it. We want to hear it. We want to hear your ideas, your dreams. We want to hear your experiences. We want to hear your challenges, because that's realness, right? We also want to hear your celebrations. We want to hear that you are passionate about a particular topic. And I want people to understand that they have so much value to share with the world and to empower you to share it with us. So I wanted to speak into this topic today because so many women that I speak to, you've silenced yourself, right? Like you've silenced yourself from the very ideas and passions and topics that make you stand out from the crowd and make you you. And I think there's a lot of things that can help us to use our voice and to find our voice. And part of that is to surround ourselves by other people that are expressing themselves using their voice, whether it be people on a YouTube channel that you've never met or whether it's people in your real life. So let this be your reminder that you have so much value to share with the world. We want to hear it. We want to hear about your ideas and your dreams and your challenges and your celebrations. And we want to see your unique little quirks. We don't care if you can't speak about it perfectly. You can't articulate yourself perfectly. As you've seen from this episode, I do not. I do not speak about things perfectly. Words do not seem to roll off my tongue. I am born to chit chat, but I'm not born to chit chat perfectly. Over time, I'll probably make more sense. Over time, I will probably won't stutter over my words so much. So, if you have found it a real challenge over the years sharing your own voice and you found yourself in a space of not trusting your own voice, try some of those little tips that I talked about earlier to help practice sharing your voice. It really does work, and it really does take practice just to get more and more used to chatting away, yapping away, and becoming less and less filtered. Actually, if you want to send a voice message to someone, send one to my Instagram. I will absolutely reply to you. Tell me something. Tell me what the weather's doing where you are. Tell me your name and where, like what country you live in, or tell me your ideas or your passions or a big dream you have, or maybe something you're celebrating right now or something you're finding challenging. Like pop into my Instagram, send me a voice message, and I cannot wait to hear from you. This sounds like a fun little exercise. Let's all get better at sharing our voices together, sharing our beliefs, our passions with each other. Like, I love hearing what everyone's passionate about, and I love just hearing it in people's voice when they're excited about something. I'm not sure if there's anything better than that. So pop into my Instagram messages, send me a voice message, and I can't wait to hear from you. So I hope you enjoyed that chat today, and hopefully it gives you some encouragement and inspiration to start using your voice more and just start getting more confident in sharing what you have to say.